I was sitting on the back porch that morning, cradling a warm mug of coffee between my hands, watching the soft mist rise off the fields as the sun crept higher into the sky. It was one of those rare mornings where everything felt still, peaceful. The birds sang lazily from the trees, and the gentle sway of the tall grass brought a sense of calm I hadn't felt in weeks. It was my sanctuary, 30 acres of untouched, wild land tucked away from the chaos of the city. Out here I could breathe. Out here I could think. But peace, I would soon discover, is often fleeting. I took another slow sip from my mug and leaned back in my old wooden chair, enjoying the quiet when something in the distance caught my eye. A dust cloud, rising steadily on the long dirt road that cut through my property, winding its way toward my house. I squinted, thinking maybe it was the delivery truck, though it was early and I hadn't ordered anything. But as the vehicles grew closer, my stomach dropped. It wasn't one car. It was a line of them. SUVs, minivans, campers, even a couple of beat-up sedans. They crawled forward in a slow, rumbling procession, tires grinding over gravel and kicking up more dust than I'd seen in a long time. At least 20 cars, maybe more. They kept coming, engines humming like an invasive swarm. I choked on my coffee, coughing violently as I stood, trying to process what I was looking at. I rubbed my eyes, convinced I must be imagining things, but no, this wasn't a dream. This was real, and it was getting closer by the second. As the first few vehicles rolled to a stop near the clearing by my barn, people started piling out. Families, kids, couples, even a few older folks. They stretched like they'd been on a long road trip, some yawning and others eagerly unloading gear. Coolers were hoisted on his shoulders, tents unrolled, and folding chairs popped open. It looked like they were setting up for a weekend getaway. Right there, on my land, I stood motionless, coffee mug still in hand, watching the chaos unfold like I was staring at a wreck. I couldn't stop. What the hell was happening? That's when I saw her, marching right up the path like she owned the place. Her name was Brenda. Brenda Wallace, head of the neighborhood HOA. The woman was notorious. Platinum blonde hair cut into a sharp bob, a clipboard always tucked under one arm, and a permanent expression of smug self-satisfaction that made your skin crawl. She had a reputation for treating HOA meetings like military briefings and the neighbors like her subordinates. And now, apparently, she had decided that my private property was her new playground. I took a deep breath, set my coffee down on the railing before I hurled it at something, and stepped off the porch. By the time I reached her, Brenda was already barking orders like some self-appointed general. People were hammering stakes into the ground, rolling out sleeping bags, and stringing hammocks between trees I'd planted with my own hands. "Morning, neighbor," she chirped as if we were old friends. She beamed at me like I was supposed to be thrilled about this little surprise. I frowned. "Brenda, what's going on here?" "We're so grateful," she said, ignoring my tone entirely. "This spot is just perfect for the HOA's annual camping retreat." What a generous donation. I blinked. "My what?" Brenda laughed, waving her hand like I was being silly. "I told the HOA board we needed an escape from the city, and your land is ideal. All this space, no traffic, and it's not like you're using it for anything important." I clenched my jaw. "Brenda, this is private property. You didn't ask me for permission." Her expression didn't budge, though her smile tightened at the corners. "Well, technically, the HOA board agreed that a community outdoor experience would be good for everyone. And since you live in the neighborhood..." "I'm not part of the HOA." I cut in, my voice cold and sharp. "I never signed your agreement. You have no right to be here." Her smile faltered for the briefest second before she slapped it back in place. "Well, you should be," she said, her tone chipper but laced with condescension. "And the rest of us have already made plans. It's just one weekend. You should be grateful to be included." Grateful. She actually said it. I scanned the scene in disbelief. Someone had already started a fire pit. Kids were running wild. A guy in cargo shorts was trying to tie a rope between two of my oak trees. This wasn't a weekend getaway. This was a hostile takeover. "This is trespassing," I said evenly. "You need to pack up and leave." "Now." Brenda sighed like I was being unreasonable. Oh, don't be so dramatic. We're neighbors. We're just camping. Camping, I repeated, on my land, with 100 uninvited guests. Before she could reply, a scream echoed from across the clearing. A teenage girl was hopping on one foot, her face twisted in disgust. EW, there's poop everywhere. Her mother gasped. Wait, you mean this isn't a cleaned-up campsite? Brenda hesitated. Well, technically no. Are there bathrooms? Someone else shouted. A man in a Hawaiian shirt sniffed the air. What's that smell? I crossed my arms and fought back a grin. My land wasn't a sanitized public campground. It was raw, wild, and unapologetically natural. Brenda had clearly failed to mention that. Still, she pressed on. Look, people have taken time off work. They brought RVs. It's too late to cancel. Not my problem, I said flatly. Her eyes narrowed. Well, technically the HOA. For the last time, Brenda, I snapped, the HOA has no control over my property. You and everyone here are trespassing. There was a nervous ripple through the crowd. Some folks shifted uncomfortably, glancing at one another like they were just realizing they might be on the wrong side of the law. Brenda's lips pursed. If you're going to be so selfish about it, she huffed, maybe we should put it to a vote. Ich sterte her, stunned. A vote? You think you can vote to take my land? We live in a democracy, don't we? I ran a hand down my face and exhaled slowly. All right, Brenda, I said. If you want to act like this is a democracy, let me introduce you to my security team. I pulled out my phone and made a call. It's time, I said simply. Brenda frowned. Time for W. She didn't finish her sentence. From behind the barn came a low, rumbling growl. Then another. 6 enormous dogs appeared, rounding the corner in a disciplined formation. They were sleek, black, and gleamed under the sun. Their eyes locked onto the crowd like they were scanning for threats. They didn't bark. They didn't snarl. They didn't have to. The sight of them was enough. Titan, my lead Belgian Malinois, stepped forward, his muscles taut under his thick coat. His ears pricked forward, and he let out a bark so deep it seemed to shake the earth. Brenda's face drained of color. Ew, you can't bring attack dogs into this. I folded my arms. But you can bring 100 people onto my land without asking. Titan took another step forward. Shadow, my second in command, flanked him silently, her gaze fixed on Brenda like a hawk. They're trained, I said quietly. They won't attack unless provoked. The message was clear. Don't provoke them. Chaos erupted. People scrambled to pack their gear. Folding chairs tipped over. Tents collapsed as poles were hastily yanked from the ground. Someone dropped a bag of marshmallows and didn't bother to pick it up. The family in the minivan peeled out so fast they nearly clipped the edge of Brenda's SUV. Brenda herself had climbed onto the hood of her car, fumbling for her phone. I'm calling the police, she shrieked. I pulled out my own phone and smiled. Go ahead. I already did. And like clockwork, 2 sheriff's deputies pulled up behind the fleeing campers. Brenda's jaw dropped as the officers got out of their cruisers. She stumbled down from the hood of her SUV, clutching her clipboard like it was a shield, and marched toward them as if she were about to report me for customer service misconduct. Officers, thank goodness. This man set dangerous animals on innocent families, she wailed. We were just trying to have a peaceful community event, and he's threatening us. The deputy, a tall man with a weathered mustache, glanced at me, unimpressed. Sir, you called about trespassers? I nodded. That's right. These people are on my land without permission. The other officer, a woman with sharp eyes, asked Brenda, Ma'am, do you have written permission to be here? Brenda opened and closed her mouth. Well, the HOA. That's not what I asked. Brenda looked around, but the crowd that had been so eager moments ago was now doing everything possible to avoid eye contact. No one was backing her up. The female officer sighed and turned to me. Do you have proof this is your property? I walked to my truck, pulled out a folder from the glove box, and handed it over. The deed was clear. My name, no HOA attachments, no shared community spaces. The officers exchanged glances. Ma'am, the deputy said, turning back to Brenda, you and everyone here are trespassing. Brenda's face contorted with rage. But we planned this. We printed schedules. Doesn't matter, the deputy said. You don't have permission. Titan took another deliberate step forward, letting out a low growl. Brenda stumbled back. You need to get rid of those beasts. They're on my land, I said simply. Unlike you, they're supposed to be here. The officers gave the campers 10 minutes to clear out. No one argued. Even Brenda, red-faced and seething, couldn't do anything but glare as her grand camping retreat evaporated before her eyes. As the last car drove off, the deputies nodded at me. Looks like you've got things under control. Thanks for coming out, I replied. The female officer chuckled. With dogs like that, I doubt they'll be back. But if they try, let us know. I nodded. I'll be ready. And I was. Over the next few days, I installed cameras, reinforced the fences, and added motion sensors. Brenda wasn't done, though. She filed a complaint with the county. Claimed I was running an illegal event space. Said my dogs were dangerous. We met at the county office. She was dressed like a lawyer. I was in flannel and jeans. The county official reviewed the files. My proof was airtight. Her complaint dissolved under scrutiny. Again, Brenda stormed out of the office, humiliated and defeated. And I went home. Titan lay by my feet as the sun set. Shadow nuzzled my hand. The land was mine again. And Brenda? She'd learned a hard lesson. Out here on my land, I make the rules, and I protect what's mine.